All right, hello there. This is Mrs. Jameson, and this is Vocab Unit 1. We're going to take a couple of minutes right now to go over the exercises and some study tips. Keep in mind that as I go through this, I'm not just going to be giving you the answers, but I'm going to be talking about why the correct answer is the correct answer. And that should help you to understand how the words are used in sentences. At the very end, I'll talk about some commonly confused words as well. So here we go. First section is completing the sentences. Your goal should be to check your work as I go over these, and if you didn't get it right, see if you can figure out why you got it wrong and why the correct answer is the correct answer. Sentence 1. I certainly appreciate your praise, but I must say that I can see nothing so remarkably meritorious in having done what any decent person would do. The word there is meritorious, which means worthy or deserving of recognition. So in this sentence, the speaker is saying that they actually don't think there's anything worthy of praise that they had done. This praise here is sort of our clue, our context clue, that if you're getting praise, you have done something meritorious or worthy. Number 2, since I don't like people who play favorites in the office, I have frequently expostulated against such behavior with my superiors. If you expostulate against something, you are disagreeing with them. You are protesting. You are trying to dissuade them from doing something. So if you don't like people who do this, you would speak out against it. You would protest against it with the bosses. Number 3, various insects have a marvelous capacity to protect themselves by simulating the appearance of twigs and other objects in their environment. You're probably pretty familiar with this word already because you do things like play game simulators or flight simulators. If you simulate something, you pretend to be, you imitate it. And so in this case, our key is they simulate the appearance of. They don't actually become twigs, but they seem to be. Number 4. In the question and answer period, we tried to elicit from the candidates some definite indication of how they propose to reduce the national debt. If you elicit something, you try to draw it forth, you try to bring it out. So in this case, we were trying to get the candidates to offer some sort of indication of their policy. Number 5. I feel that, as an old friend, I have the prerogative of criticizing your actions without arousing resentment. This is probably one of the tougher words in this unit, but prerogative means a special right or privilege. So we could actually replace prerogative with privilege, and it would work. A good synonym for prerogative is perk. As an old friend, I have this perk. I feel like I should be able to criticize you without you getting mad at me. Number 6, the only way to defeat the party in power is for all the reform groups to form a coalition and back a single slate of candidates. A coalition is a combination, a union, a group, a merger, and our clue here is the word co, right? If you cooperate, you work together. So a coalition is a group working together. And our key here, our context clue in the sentence is if you're backing a single slate of candidates, you're working together, you're cooperating as a coalition. Number 7, although we tried to express our sympathy, we knew that mere words could do nothing to assuage her grief. That's a tough word to pronounce, assuage. If you assuage something, you make it easier or milder. You sort of calm and quiet somebody. You satisfy something. So in this case, we tried to express our sympathy, but we couldn't do anything to assuage her grief. We couldn't alleviate it. We couldn't make it easier because grief doesn't work like that. Number 8, their tastes have been so jaded by luxurious living that they seem incapable of enjoying the simple pleasures of life. Jaded is a tough word. In fact, that's one that we're going to talk about at the end of this PowerPoint, so sit tight with that. But if you're jaded by something, you are worn out by it, you're wearied, you've experienced too much of it that it has kind of ruined you. So in this case, these people have had all this luxurious living. They're so jaded, they're so used to it that now they can't enjoy simple things. Number 9, of course you have a right to ask the waiter for a glass of water, but is there any need to use the petulant tone of a spoiled child? If somebody is described as petulant, they are acting annoyed, they're acting easily irritated, they're acting upset, they're irritable. The words spoiled child here in this sentence are our context clues. It's a tone that a spoiled child would use. They would sound annoyed and irritated. Number 10, his confidence grew as he received clear signs of the approbation of his supporters. There's a real easy clue here for you, and that is approbation means approval. And you can see approbation and approval start with the same thing. And also our context clues, if you get signs from your superiors that give you confidence, you know that that means you're getting approval from them. During the brief hiatus in the music, someone's ringing cell phone split the air. Hiatus is a break. We often hear it when television seasons, sometimes they'll air new episodes in like September and October, and then they'll go on hiatus, which means they're taking a break until after the new year. In this case, our context clue is that the music was quiet, so we could hear someone's ringing cell phone. I take no umbrage at your personal remarks, but I feel you would be better advised to not make them. Umbrage is one of the toughest words in this unit, and we'll talk about it at the end of this slideshow. But umbrage has a literal definition of shade cast by trees, and that's not at all how it's used in this sentence. It's the more non-literal interpretation, which means offense or resentment. So this sentence is saying, I take no offense at what you said about me, but I still don't think you should have said it. We'll talk more about umbrage in a few minutes. 13. The midnight fire in our apartment building cast a lurid, unearthly light on the faces of the firefighters struggling to put it out. If something is lurid, it is causing shock, horror, or revulsion, the way a fire would cast sort of creepy, ghostly glows on faces. The issue of good faith that your conduct raises far transcends the specific question of whether or not you are responsible for the problem. So if something transcends, it goes above or beyond, it exceeds. So this sentence is saying the fact that your behavior, it goes above and beyond the specific question of this problem. Your behavior is a bigger issue. Number 15, if you cannot meet the college's entrance requirements, it will be futile to have someone intercede on your behalf. Intercede, a good synonym for intercede would be intervene, and I think you're probably familiar with that one. So if somebody intercedes, they serve as a third party, like a go-between. In this case, if you don't meet the entrance requirements, it doesn't matter if you have somebody put in a good word for you. You won't make it in. If you take pride in expressing yourself with force and originality, you should not use so many hackneyed phrases. Hackneyed is another tough one. It means that it's used so often to lack freshness or originality. It's like overplayed. And so in this case, in this sentence, talks about the way we express ourselves. And if we want to be original, we shouldn't use words and phrases that are overdone. Number 17. In an age when the United States has truly global responsibilities, we cannot afford to have leaders with provincial points of view. If something is provincial, it is local and narrow-minded in view. We often use provincial. It's related to the word province to mean sort of local, limited. It usually has a negative connotation. Number 18, the manager expressed her unfavorable opinion of the job applicant by innuendo rather than direct statement. If you make an innuendo, it's indirect. It's kind of a suggestion or a reference. It's not like a flat out saying what you mean. It's kind of hinting at it. Weakened military, and with a large part of the population living on free bread and circuses, the once and mighty Roman Empire now entered a period of decadence. Decadence comes from the word decay. If something is decadent, it is in decline, decay, or deterioration. Those are all good D words. And our context clue here is that it was once mighty, but now it's in a period of decay. Forever humbling himself and flattering others, Dickens' Uriah Heep is famously unctuous. If someone is unctuous, they're like excessively smooth, like they're trying too hard. A word I would use to describe them would be oily, like sort of like kind of like, yeah, come on, you're just trying too hard. You're being too smooth. All right. Quickly, we'll go through the synonyms. So a synonym for pause and the hectic workday would be hiatus. If you make an insinuation not supported by fact, the vocab word would be innuendo. If you are wearied by too many compliments, you're jaded. If you are impolite and peevish in the questions you're asking, you might be petulant. Another good synonym would be testy. A perquisite of her rank, the vocab synonym would be prerogative, and a synonym would be perk. If you are exploding in annoyance, you are exploding in umbrage. Another good synonym for that would be irritation. If you are unceasing and servile in modesty, you are unctuous. Good synonyms would be greasing and fawning. If you are feigning reconciliation, you are simulating. In other words, you're pretending. If you are alleviating his fears, you are assuaging his fears. If you are seeking the boss's commendation, you are seeking his approbation or approval. Gruesome tales of grave robbers would be lurid. Other synonyms would be gory or grisly. If you protest against a course of action, you are going to expostulate. That's our vocab word, and it just means you're complaining or protesting against it. If you are exceeding one's limitations, you are transcending them. It means you're surpassing them. That's another good synonym for you. You are finding strength through an alliance. An alliance is a coalition. Another good synonym for you would be league. And finally, if you are mediating in a dispute, you are coming in between, you are interceding or intervening.